hear the most about you, and you can tell me if this is true or not, is that you have power of levitation. And as a magician, this is something that I'm fascinated with.
Your magic is fantastic, but we're not the same the Buddhist meditations.
Yes, I understand. I know you don't want to teach me how to do it or tell me any of your... Go get this.
How is he doing that? Are you guys seeing this? Are you guys seeing this? Wow. There's no wires. I don't see anything.
This is crazy.
At their new headquarters in Iowa, the Maharishi's current followers are eager to show that what they call yogic flying is not just mystical, but a physical effect of meditation.
Hello, John. Thank you for coming in so we can see what your EEG looks like during yogic flying. This is a cap which has the electrodes in it. It actually records what your brain does. So now what you'll be doing is just closing your eyes, meditating for a few minutes, and then practicing yogic flying.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Well, yes. Are we defying Einstein's general relativity, which is a more modern theory of gravity? Well, yes. In the domes here at Maharishi University of Management, the whole community basically comes twice a day to practice yogic flying collectively. During the practice of yogic flying, which is an advanced aspect of meditation, a tremendous upsurge of energy overtakes the body. And in this exhilarating state, the body as if leaps up and tends to dwell in the air. The brain remains coherent but becomes active. And with advanced practice, the body tends to lift and float and ultimately, according to the literature, fly.
Type of...
During the practice of yogic flying, which is an advanced aspect of meditation, a tremendous upsurge of energy overtakes the body. And in this exhilarating state, the body as if leaps up and tends to dwell in the air. The brain remains coherent but becomes active. And with advanced practice, the body tends to lift and float and ultimately, according to the literature, fly. As a physicist, that's not probably exactly how it works. I think what's more likely, based on experience, is that the gravitational field loses its grip on the individual. By using the mind, you can overcome classical gravitational laws that hold us down. Not by a miracle, but by taking access to deeper gravitational laws, quantum gravitational laws, which take precedence over those macroscopic laws. With levitation, human levitation, you're not fighting gravity, you're taking control over gravity. You're changing the curvature of space and time, if you wish, so that the gravitational force isn't pulling us down, but is pushing us up.
Not everyone who's witnessed yogic flying shares this belief that the flyers are escaping gravity. Is this flight, or is it simply hopping?
It may look like hopping, it may look like some physical activity. The inner experience is one of flying, and it is flying. So you take a hop and then you're gliding. It feels wonderful. Most people that are experiencing Maharishi's yogic flying are in between the first and second stage. That means that they'll go up and they'll go forward a bit and then come back down again. And sometimes there's some suspension in the air. The third stage is full mastery of flight.
If anyone should have mastered the third stage,
Advanced aspect of meditation, a tremendous upsurge of energy leaps up and tends to dwell in the air. The brain remains coherent and float, and ultimately, according to the literature, exactly how it works. I think what's more likely, based on experience, by using the mind, you can, but by taking access to deeper gravitational law, control over gravity. You're changing the curvature of space and time.
everyone who's witnessed yogic flying shares this belief that the flyer
And it is flying. So you take a hop and then you're gliding. Most people that are experiencing Maharishi's and they'll go forward a bit and then come back down again. And the third stage is full mastery of flight.
Type of meditation with an ancient tradition of secrecy. It was only when my brother Lorne was suffering from a serious eye infection that he finally allowed us to film him in 1987.
It was nothing like any acupuncture I'd ever had. I was getting really powerful electric shocks and couldn't control my movements at all.
Yin yang, positive and negative, you know. And my positive from here and my negative from here. And we meet together, this can get like electricity.
And is this because you're special? You have a special sort of
It's for meditation every day.
It's meditation that does it.
Meditation every day. Like you can touch me, like this. It's nothing, okay? It's my burn. It's just like this.
For our sound recordist, it was also a shocker. He then took our newspaper outside and showed us how qi can also be used to set things on fire. When he heard we'd shown this footage in public, he was very upset and refused all our future efforts to contact him again. As the years passed, we sadly resigned ourselves to never seeing him again. My brother Lorne never did, from his local, where he tried to push a chopstick through the table. He couldn't get it through the formica surface, so he came up through an inch of wood from underneath.
Right now, between fear and love.
Then there is no difficulty in you having a white coat, or he having a red coat, or me having a black coat. These distinctions no longer become such a dominant factor in one's life.
We stand united as one, as one, as one, as one.
correctly, Qi can make any part of the body as hard as steel. The crown of the head can break iron plates, bricks, sticks, and stones. Hands can smash bricks and break sticks. Feet can splinter rocks and a staff. Even the most delicate parts of the body can become immune to scimitar or spear attack. The stomach can resist a trident stab or can break sticks. The throat can resist attack by spear.
不是说这些什么兵器都不能伤，因为枪斥后啊，他们都是恩气功的一种，都属于恩气，就是把这个气布局这个外层，内敛一口气。
The iron neck exercise consists simply of hanging by the neck from a cloth noose. At first, it is only bearable for 2 to 3 seconds, but eventually the body can be supported for minutes at a time, by which time you'll have mastered the technique. The iron neck is very useful in actual combat. It enables you to free yourself and counterattack should your enemy have your neck in an arm lock. By now, it is clear Qi can make any part of the body as hard as steel. And stones. Staff. The stomach can resist a trident stab. Throat can resist attack by spear.
他们都是恩气功的一种，都属于恩气，就是把这个气。
Consists simply of hanging by the neck from a cloth noose. Seconds, but eventually the body can be supported for minutes at a time. The iron neck is very useful in actual combat. It is a neck in an arm lock.
This is a water droplet that you're going to see. And in this water droplet, a frequency is being pumped into this water droplet. As the frequency is mirrored in the droplet, you'll actually see the geometric patterns in that droplet. Now what's happening, and the reason that this is so significant, is because we're going to do a frequency sweep. We're going to go from low frequencies to higher frequencies. And what you'll find is this. You'll see that in the lower frequencies, the patterns are less complex. And in the higher frequency, the patterns are more complex. So we're going through a sweep from lower to higher frequency. I'm sharing this with you now because Earth is essentially going through a frequency sweep. Our fundamental pulse, our base pulse that has hovered around 7.8 cycles per second, now is changing. And again, there's a lot of controversy about what the change is, and we're witnessing the change. As we go through our planetary shift of this pulse, patterns of energy must change to respond to that, just as patterns of energy in this water are changing to respond to this pulse. And we'll begin with simply the concentric patterns in the water. As the frequency begins, every once in a while we'll reach a key threshold resonance, such as that moment right there. And in that key threshold resonance, the entire pattern morphed into a more complex expression of itself, simply because the frequency changed. Now watch what happens. The frequency is still increasing. Now watch what happens. As we reach another key threshold resonance, this entire pattern will morph into a beautifully and more complex pattern of itself, again and again. And look at this pattern right here. Look what you're seeing right here. Look at the beautiful geometry. Here is a perfect cube. There's a perfect tetrahedron, a star tetrahedron. In 2 dimensions, we've got the octahedron. Very powerful images of sacred geometry held in place simply because we've achieved the vibratory pattern that allows that in this water droplet. And as the vibration increases, these patterns will become more and more complex. You can see the pulse from where you are. Can you see the pulse actually in the water? As we go into the last set of the frequencies, what you'll see is that the entire, and you'll watch along the outer perimeter, the entire pattern reaches its greatest level of complexity, and then it goes back. As the frequencies drop, it goes back to what it was, the concentric circles, as it was originally. It almost looks alive. You know, you've been offered many times the concept that thought is vibration. Have you ever considered that emotion is vibration? Feeling is vibration. We are always feeling something. We are always emoting something. We may not always be aware of what that is. We carry those patterns with us. As we hold a feeling and an emotion, what we're doing is we are holding a vibratory pattern in the liquid crystal of our bodies.
Feel has now been scientifically shown to be provable. And what you're going to see now are what happens to particles of sand and other various particles when a sound resonates across a plate and resonates those particles in tune with the sound. Because when we think, we're not just sending out a wave which resonates the energy, we're sending out on a frequency outside of the range of human hearing, we're sending out a sound. Everything is sound. When we think, a sound goes out, it resonates the energy around us to that sound. And what you're about to see are some pictures that show this happening when sound is introduced, and how sound takes random particles and turns it into astonishing form. And that's how this universe was created. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was sound. So what you're looking at here is merely particles formed into patterns by sound. They were all over the place to start with, just in random positions on the plate. As soon as the sound appears, they form into these patterns because everything is sound, and it is sound that turns matter and energy into form. Patterns on wings of birds and insects are all the manifestation of the sound vibrations. Every organ in our body resonates to a certain frequency. And when our thoughts and emotions and stress and the vibrations that causes de-harmonize the vibrational state of our various parts of our body, we become ill. We think ourselves into illness because we're affecting the vibrational state of the body. And so every time you think and feel, you're resonating a frequency which is making the energy around you resonate to the same frequency. What you give out is what you create. Here you're seeing mini galaxies just formed by particles and sound. This is how the galaxies and the universe and the solar systems were formed and continue to be held in the structure they're in through sound. If the sound changes, the matter changes, the energy changes. So when you look at what it says in texts like even the Old Testament, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was sound. And sound is everything. When you think and feel, you're creating sound. This is how the heart beats at a certain resonance. All you're looking at here are interacting frequencies making a beat. And so while the frequency of the heart is at the right level, it beats in the normal number of beats a minute. But when we become stressed, we affect that frequency and the heart beats faster. And so everything is sound, even the human heartbeat, and the interacting frequencies that make it happen. And we've seen the galaxies, and now here are the planets forming, just on a plate from particles caused by sound passing through them. This planet has a resonant frequency. It's called the Schumann cavity resonance. But basically, while that frequency holds, the planet will hold its present form. If the frequency changes, the form will change. It's the same with everything. And here you see sound being passed through ion filings and particles, and therefore creating form once again. And from these pictures, it's hardly difficult to see how the human body is formed through sound resonating energy, and how that physical form is held as long as that sound matrix is held. But once that changes, the physical body changes. So there you've seen, with stunning effect, how sound creates form, how galaxies are created, how planets are created. And all those planets, balls of particles, all those revolving galaxies were merely particles turned into that form by sound.
This next series of photographs are the work of Japanese researcher Mr. Masaru Emoto from his book, The Message from Water. Mr. Emoto's work provides factual evidence that human vibrational energy, thoughts, words, ideas, and music affect the molecular structure of water. Please remember that water comprises over 70% of a mature human body and covers the same amount on our planet. Water is the very source of all life. This photo shows the beautifully formed geometric design of the Yushi Spring water. This next photo is from the Shimanto River, the last clean spring in Japan. Notice the extraordinary geometric forms. The fact that the molecular structure of water can be affected by our consciousness, our intent, and our sounds is extremely important. This photo is from the Mount Cook Glacier in New Zealand. Mr. Emoto has been visually documenting these molecular changes in water by means of his photographic techniques. He freezes droplets of water, then examines them under a dark field microscope that has photographic capabilities. His work clearly demonstrates the diversity of the molecular structure of water and the effects of the environment upon the structure of the water. This photo is from the fountain in Lourdes, France. This photo is from contaminated water from the Yodo River in Japan. In this photo we can compare the contaminated water with clean stream water. Look at the difference. Mr. Emoto decided to see what effects music would have upon the structure of water. He placed distilled water between two speakers for several hours while playing different music and then photographing the crystals that formed after the water was frozen. This photo is of water being exposed to Beethoven's Pastorale. This photo is the effect of Bach's Air for the G-string on the water. This photo is water exposed to Chopin's Farewell Song. This next photo is water being exposed and affected to music that was designed for healing. This photo is of water being exposed to the Kawachi folk dance. This photo shows the effect of heavy metal music upon the water. Here now we can compare the effects of healing versus heavy metal music and what happens to the water molecules. Mr. Emoto decided to see how thoughts and words affected the formation of untreated distilled water crystals by typing words onto paper and then taping this paper onto glass bottles overnight. This photo shows the effects of the words, "Thank you." This next photo shows the effects of the words, "Love and Appreciation." This photo shows the effects of the words, "You make me sick, I will kill you." And here we can compare the effects of "thank you" with the "you make me sick, I will kill you." Very, very different geometric forms being incurred through the intention. Now this photo is of a very polluted and toxic water from the Fujiwara Dam. Here now is the same water from the Fujiwara Dam after a Buddhist monk had offered a prayer over it. Prayer, that sound coupled with intention, seems to have an extraordinary ability of restoring water to its natural, harmonious, geometric symmetry. And in this photo we can compare the toxic water and then the effects of praying over the water It's really quite impressive. These photographs that we have just seen show proof that not only does sound have the ability of affecting and changing physical structure, but that with regard to the molecular structure of water, that our intent with our sound is extremely important. This may have great implications for the future of both personal and planetary harmony and healing.
To what extent is water capable of picking up information? What does it perceive? And how does it remember it over time?
As the frequency is mirrored in that droplet. Now what's happening, and the reason that this is so to higher frequencies, and what you'll find is this, and in the higher frequency, the patterns are more. I'm sharing this with you now because Earth is essentially going through a frequency sweep that has hovered around 7.8 cycles per second. Now, witnessing the change. As we go through our respond to that, just as patterns of energy in this water are changing to the entire pattern morphed into a more complex expression, and then it goes back as the frequencies drop, it's vibration. We are all those patterns with us. As we hold a feeling and an emotion, what we
sound. They were all over the place to start with, just sound, random positions, turns matter and energy, in the state of our various parts of our body, we become ill. We think. Here you're seeing mini galaxies just formed by particles. This is how the heart beats at a certain resonance, and the heart beats faster. And so everything is sound, even the human heart. And we've seen the galaxies, and now here are the planets. You see sound being passed through iron with stunning effect. How sound creates.
Work of Japanese researcher Mr. Masaru Emoto, beautifully formed geometric design of the Yushi Spring, documenting these molecular changes in water by means of his. This photo is from the fountain in Lourdes, France. This photo is of water being exposed, effect of box air for the G-string on the water. Is water being exposed? This photo shows the effect versus of heavy metal music and what happens to the words. And words affected the formation of untreated distilled onto glass bottles overnight. This next photo shows the effects of the words love, shows the and appreciation of the words thank you with the you make me sick, I will kill you. Now this photo is of a very polluted. Here now, and in this photo we can compare the toxic water.
Binaural beats is a process in which an individual may utilize audible sound to entrain their brain into particular brainwave states conducive to performing a particular task. The process and its effectiveness will be explored in this film. Synesthesia is a neural condition in which sound can be perceived through non-auditory sense organs. There are many categories of synesthesia, however this research will focus on the perception of sound as colour, exploring consistency and repeatability, as well as gathering an anthropological understanding of living with the condition. Cymatics is the study of visible sound. The name cymatics was coined in the 1970s when it was discovered that by playing pure tones onto a flat metallic surface, formed beautiful symmetrically geometric patterns onto a particulate medium like salt or sand. These areas were selected due to their far-reaching implications and because they illustrate how little we really know about the truly mysterious nature of sound, as well as setting a framework for material that will be covered in the future. Binaural beats is the phenomena that occurs when the brain perceives the differential between two tones in a stereo field as a pulse. For example, using a pair of stereo headphones, one could play a sine wave at 500 Hz in the left ear and 510 Hz in the right, creating a binaural beat of 10 Hz. The beat created is designed to stimulate brainwave activity that operates within the same frequency band. Brainwave activity falls between certain ranges, representing varying stages of alertness or cognitive ability. It is said that by using this technique, it is possible to entrain the mind into a desired state at will. The frequency ranges and their associated mental states are as follows. 40 Hz is gamma waves and is associated with higher mental activity, increased perception, alert problem solving, fearful state. 13 to 39 Hz is beta waves and is associated with being active, busy, states of concentration, aroused, cognition, paranoia. 7 to 13 Hz is the alpha state and is associated with relaxation, pre-sleep and pre-wake drowsiness, REM sleep and dreams. 4 to 7 Hz is the theta wave state and is associated with deep meditation, relaxation and NREM sleep. 4 Hz is the delta wave state and is associated with deep dreamless sleep, loss of bodily awareness. Wikipedia states that this effect was first observed in the 1830s by a man named Heinrich William Dove. However, it seems the principles of binaural beats may have been observed much earlier by Dutch mathematician Christian Huygens in approximately 1665. Huygens is famous for the discovery of centrifugal force, for pushing the theory that light consisted of waves, and for his observations on the perception of sound. He is also noted as being the inventor of the pendulum clock, which led to his further observations on the process of entrainment. He had a room with a number of pendulum-driven clocks in it, and he observed that over time the pendulums of the clocks all fell into synchronization with each other, even if he deliberately started them swaying at different times. He would inevitably return to find they had resynchronized themselves with each other. He called this synchronization tendency entrainment. Further research conducted in the 1970s by Charles Strobel, PhD, MD, explored the notion that many great thinkers seem to have greater synchronization of their right and left hemispheres of the brain. Experiments on experienced meditators showed that when in deep meditative states, both sides of the brain are working in perfect harmony, while when not meditating, there is a tendency for domination on the part of one specific hemisphere. It seems that by using binaural beats, it is possible to induce a deep meditative state at will and create balanced brainwave activity. But is this really true? The process of entrainment using a patented form of binaural beats called holosync product of the Centrepoint Research Institute, cites benefits such as meditate as deeply than an experienced Zen monk, literally at the touch of a button. Virtually eliminate stress from your life. Naturally and safely stimulate the production of brain chemicals that dramatically slow aging and increase longevity. Boost your mental powers to unheard of levels. Eliminate most so-called dysfunctional feelings and behaviours and the problems they create in your life. And attain a level of happiness and inner peace you may not have thought possible. Bold claims indeed. But is there any solid, peer-reviewed scientific studies that confirm such beneficial effects? Well, as it transpires, there has been extensive research conducted that has been verified and compiled many times into research papers on the subject. The most notable of which is a paper published in Scientific American in 1973 entitled Auditory Beats in the Brain by Dr. Gerald Oster. It explained that when tones of different frequencies were played into each ear, that pulsations occurred in the brain. He called these pulsations binaural beats. The research concluded that binaural beats do indeed create a state of synchronization between the hemispheres of the brain, and that it was possible to manage brainwave states according to desire. The paper inspired a considerable amount of excitement, and many further studies were conducted which delivered evidence that binaural beats has many applications. In literally thousands of experiments conducted in the 1970s by Robert Monroe of the Monroe Institute of Applied Sciences, an EEG meter was used to measure the brainwave activity during binaural beat sessions. Monroe also concluded that rather than only affecting a certain area of the brain, the entire brain resonated to the specific frequency created by the two tones. This phenomena has been verified in multiple experiments by many researchers since then, including Dr. Suzanne Evan Morris, who concluded that research supports the theory that different frequencies presented to each ear through stereo headphones create a different tone, or binaural beat, as the brain puts together the two tones it actually hears. Through EEG monitoring, the different tone is identified by a change in the electrical pattern produced by the brain. For example, frequencies of 200 Hz and 210 Hz produce a binaural beat frequency of 10 Hz. Monitoring of the brain's electricity, EEG, shows that the brain produces increased 10 Hz activity with equal frequency and amplitude of the waveform in both hemispheres. Psychological benefits of binaural beats are cited in multiple papers. A comprehensive summary of over 20 such papers by Tina L. Huang, PhD, and Christine Chariton, PhD, and concluded that brainwave entrainment utilising this method is an effective therapeutic tool, and that the immediate psychological effects on memory, attention, stress, pain, headaches and migraines were shown to benefit from even a single session of brainwave entrainment. Surprisingly, research conducted found that use of binaural beats actually increased the production of 3 key hormones associated with longevity of life and general well-being: cortisol, DHEA and melatonin. Cortisol is found in the adrenal glands and impacts learning and memory. DHEA is used as source ingredient for virtually every good hormone the body needs and helps our immune system. Melatonin is a chemical produced during deep natural sleep. Having lots of DHEA and melatonin is good for us. At this point, the sheer volume of available research on the benefits of binaural beat entrainment can become a little overwhelming, with multiple papers citing the many following beneficial findings. Increases in IQ between 23 and 33%. Improved visual retention, i.e. memory, auditory memory, reading and arithmetic. Long-term improvements in concentration and self-esteem. Reduced anxiety levels. Improved sleep patterns. Treatment in depression and alcoholism. This experiment involved two groups of alcoholics. One group was sent to a regular 12-step AA program for help with their condition. They were the control group. The other group received no counselling, but were sent for 15 20-minute sessions of alpha and theta binaural beats usage. These were the experimental group. Within the AA attending control group, alcoholism relapse rates 13 months after the test were at 80%. There was no change in levels of depression as measured by Beck's depression inventory. Within the binaural beat using experimental group, 13 months later there was only a 20% relapse and levels of depression had reduced to that of a third non-alcoholic control group. Unfortunately, for ethical reasons, it was not possible to enlist volunteers for experimentation using binaural beats. However, a certain degree of personal experimentation has been conducted. Objectively, it is difficult to discern whether or not your brainwave activity is noticeably different. However, nothing has been observed which would contradict any of the findings included in this episode. The UK Synesthesia Association on its homepage describes synesthesia in its simplest form as a union of the senses. This union can take multiple forms. Some synesthetes can taste shapes, others can smell colour or may utilise audible sound to entrain their brain. This and its effectiveness will be explored in this film, exploring consistency and repeatability to illustrate how little we really know about the truly mysterious nature. Achieves the differential between two tones in a stereo field, 100 Hz in the left ear and 510. The beat created is designed to stimulate brainwave activity with higher mental activity, increased perception, concentration, alert problems, aroused, cognition, and is associated with relaxation, pre-sleep, and is associated with deep meditation, and is associated with deep dreamless sleep. Centrifugal force, for pushing the theory that light consisted of waves of synchronization with each other, even if he deliberately started. Further research conducted in the 1970s when in deep meditative states, both sides of the brain, there is a tendency for domination on the part of one specific hemisphere, meditative state at will, and create balanced times into research papers on the subject. Titled, "The most notable auditory beats in the brain were played into each ear, that pulsations occurred. The research concluded that binaural beats do indeed manage brainwave states according to considerable amount of excitement, and many further studies were conducted. An EEG meter was used to measure the brainwave activity during binaural beats in a certain area of the brain. The entire brain, verified in multiple experiments by many researchers since then, of the brain's electricity, EEG, shows that the brain produces increased psychological benefits of binaural beat, PhD, and Christine Chariton, PhD, an effective therapeutic tool, and that the production of 3 key hormones associated with longevity. Cortisol is found in the adrenal gland. Auditory memory, reading and arithmetic. Anxiety levels, improved sleep patterns of alcoholics. One group was sent to regular 12-step 2-minute sessions for alpha and theta binaural beats usage. 13 months after the test were at 80%. Within the binaural beat using experimental group, enlist 13 volunteers for experimentation using binaural beats, whether or not your brainwave activity is noticeably different. The UK Synesthesia Association, a union of the senses.